Welcome back. Lori Horton from Celebrations by Lori joins us in the studio to teach us how to make apple cider donut cake.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that.
It really doesn't. You know, like I said, with Labor Day is over,
Yes.
It's time for the fall recipes. We have to have apple spice
Right.
or pumpkin spice
Yes.
in everything now. So, you know, this is an easy one this morning.
Okay.
We're not even going to have a mixer or anything out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So make it really simple. We're going to start out with some basic ingredients like a cake mix, just
Okay,
to
sure.
make things really, really quick for you, not a lot of measuring. And you have some options here. My original recipe that I had for this actually called for using a spice cake.
Oh.
And that's really good with it, but I
Right.
kind of switched it up and I start with just a basic yellow cake
Sure,
mix.
yeah.
And we're gonna add apple cider and applesauce and all the apple things to it. So to me, the spice cake kind of took away from the apple. But
Overpowering, maybe?
a little
Okay.
bit. So I like
Good
to
to
really
know.
taste
Yes,
that apple
yeah.
in it when I get done. So it's kind of an option.
Sure,
You can experiment
yeah.
a little bit and kind of see what you like the best. But we're going to actually add to it, instead of the oil and the water and the things on the
Right.
box, none of that. We're going to add a cup of apple cider, and we want to add a really good one. So if it's not something you would pour out of that jug and enjoy having in a cup, then don't use that one. Use a
Perfect,
good
yeah.
one. A little bit of applesauce, like a half a cup. And this one, my favorite, I actually could not find at the store lately. Big surprise, I know everybody's having that experience. But the best is to use a chunky applesauce that's got some
Ooh.
bits of apple in it.
Sweetened or unsweetened?
It's really your option.
Okay.
I go with the sweetened,
Sure.
just the
Yeah.
kind of standards there. But there is a brand that makes one that has some really good bits of
Okay.
apple in it,
Good
a
to
little
know.
more than usual. But right now, apparently, it's a little hard
Okay.
to find. 3 large eggs. When we're baking, we always stick with the large eggs. Remember that. And then I've got just a little bit of brown sugar and cinnamon here, and a little dash of vanilla. And again, use a good, rich, dark vanilla. You want to be able to taste a little bit of that when it's done. So this can just be mixed by hand. You don't have to get that mixer out. This is something good that the kids can help with. It's going to be a pretty basic batter, not real thick,
Sure, yeah.
not real, nothing out of the ordinary. So by adding that applesauce and that apple cider, again, we didn't have to add the oil or
No.
the water. We're going to have that good moist cake when we get done, because that's going to replace it. And then this is going to bake in a bundt pan. So we want a pretty side to it. We're going to either grease and flour it or spray it with that baking spray.
Perfect, yeah.
Got to do a good job on that, because this is a nice soft cake when we get all done. So when we come back later, we're going to show you exactly how that's going to rise and bake, and then how we're going to top it and really add that extra fall spice flavorings to it.
Ooh, yes.
With some toppings and even a little bit of dip or drizzle for the side. That's kind of cool.
Ooh.
So we're going all in,
Yeah,
as usual.
Sounds like it. Sounds perfect, amazing, delicious. We'll stick around. We'll be right back.
This is your plumbing headquarters. Get
Well, welcome back. Lori Horton from Celebrations by Lori has been showing us her recipe for apple cider donut cake, and it already looks so amazing. So what's next?
I know. We started out so simply this morning
Right.
with our cake mix. We added that apple cider, good quality apple cider, and some applesauce. None of the ingredients on the box except the eggs, but we've got a good basic batter here, and you can kind of see it's just a normal, not too thick, not too thin. We're going to bake this in a regular size bundt pan. And this needs to be greased and floured, or use your baking spray.
Yes.
We love the baking spray.
Right.
Makes life so much easier. But just make sure when you come to a bundt pan, bring that all the way up to the sides, and don't forget to spray the center
Yes,
post.
absolutely
That's
important.
an easy one to miss, and then it really sticks and you'll get those little pieces. Still tastes great, just doesn't come out well. So as we put this in the pan, it's not going to overfill it. So this is going to be one really nice as you bake it. It's going to level out well in the oven.
Oh,
so you don't
fantastic.
have to cut anything off the bottom when
Okay.
it comes out.
Yeah.
It's going to lay nicely on your little cake platter or whatever you might want to put that on. So you'll see it's about half full in my pan. A little hard to tip that without changing that situation, but it's just about half full, so it's not a super tall bun.
Okay.
But you want to tap this a little bit before you put it in the oven. That's really important, because we get those air bubbles
And so you've
out
already
of
come to
that.
the
You see them
surface,
come to
yeah.
the top, pop right out of there. So keeps those pockets from being in there when you
Mm-hmm.
turn that out. And sometimes that helps too with the sticking. If you get those air bubbles that are close to the side,
Okay.
they can have those little chunks. It just doesn't look as nice when it comes out either. So now I'm going to come back. I baked this for about 30 minutes exactly yesterday, so it's going to depend a little bit on your weather. This is a really nice, moist, dense cake. So if it's a little rainy and it's a little,
Sure.
heavier outside, it's going to bake for a little bit different temperature. Good toothpick test,
Yes.
the classic,
Yes.
right? So it's nice and cool in here.
Okay.
My butter is setting up quickly. But once that comes out of the oven, you want to let it rest in the pan until you can comfortably touch the pan. It
Okay.
can still be warm,
Yeah.
but you'll turn that out onto a platter, a cake plate, whatever you want to use. And then you want to leave it to cool completely. Because we want to
Patience
do
is key
that.
for this one.
I know. I know, it's hard. You can even leave it to cool overnight if
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to. You don't have to do this immediately. But then you're going to come back with a little bit of slightly more melted butter than what I'm going to have here, because it's starting to set up quickly in this cool studio. But we're going to just kind of layer this on the top. We want to brush it over the edges and get it all the way around into those little nooks and crannies. Now, don't treat this like a glaze. You don't want a ton of it on there.
Okay. That's good
What
to
this
know.
is going to do is just give our cinnamon and sugar mixture that I have here something to stick to.
Some glue, yeah.
Yeah. And then we're going to sprinkle this very generously with just some cinnamon and sugar. I like about a 2-to-1 mixture, 2 cinnamon or 2 sugar to 1 cinnamon. You can use your personal preference on that. If you like it a little bit sweeter, you like it a
Ooh,
little
yeah.
more cinnamon. You can even add a little apple pie spice to that if you
Ooh,
want
delicious,
to. That
yeah.
goes really
Yeah.
well with that applesauce and everything we put in there. And then our last step, when we come back, we're going to make a glaze or kind of a dipping sauce
Ooh, delicious.
for our slices. Yeah.
Delicious. Well, it already looks so good. I can't wait to see what's next. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Lori is with us this morning, and she's sharing with us her last few steps to this delicious apple cider donut cake. So what are the last few steps, Lori?
Well, it's great as it is
Right.
right now. We can stop here, but as you guys know, I never stop here. So
We love it.
our last step for the top, we can use this as kind of a glaze, or what I really think is fun, and I have this very random little cup here, but it fits so perfectly in the center of my bundt pan.
Yeah.
And I love to do stuff like this and have kind of more of like a little dip in the center
how
to
fun.
it. You can cut your bundt slices a little bit skinnier, get a few more servings out of it, but it just makes it a little bit interesting. So what I've got in my bowl here is just a little bit of powdered sugar, and I'm going to add to it just some more of my apple
Yes.
cider, just a little splash of that in there, a little bit of cinnamon, and that's totally your taste on that. And you can add just even a little dash of vanilla to kind of mellow that out a little bit. You
Sure.
can see I'm using my grandma measures here. Little this, little of that. And we're going to whisk this together so that it's just nice and smooth. And you can really smell that apple. You can really smell the
It
the
smells so
cider in
great.
there.
It smells like fall.
So nice. I may have just a little bit. I may want just a bit more powdered sugar in this. It's going to be a little bit thin. So this is going to be a little more of our glaze consistency, very liquid.
Right.
It takes a little bit for the powdered sugar to dissolve.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you do have to kind of whisk this for a couple minutes
Work
and just
on it,
make
yeah.
sure that you
It
get all
smells
those little lumps.
amazing. So
nice.
good. Oh.
So nice. And you can even make more of a set glaze when you do this. You can just take a little bit heavy whipping cream.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
The heavy whipping cream with a little dash of powdered sugar and a splash of the apple cider, or even just the cinnamon, the apple pie spice, any of those mixed together. And we've done glazes on a lot of different things on past recipes, but it's so simple. And those will set up a little bit nicer. So if you're
Okay.
taking this to a family
Perfect.
event,
Yeah.
you maybe want to do it the day before, go with that, cool your cake completely, add about a half a cup of heavy whipping cream with just a little bit of the powdered sugar in there and whatever extra flavor you want to add. So I
Lots
need
of
about
options, yeah.
I know, so many
So
options.
easy, yeah.
And we talked about when we started that you can even kind of do some experimenting a little bit with what flavor of cake mix that you like on that. Maybe
Yes.
start with a spice cake or even just a white cake. You can really mix it up. If you go with a heavier flavored cake, you just lose a little bit of the apple
Right.
coming through, because again, you can make a box mix
Yeah.
with applesauce, as I'm sure that you have done, without the eggs and the oil
Sure.
and all the
Yes.
things. But you notice you don't really taste the apple. So if you
good to
do
know.
that, yeah, you kind of boost that a little bit. So I'm really close here. Again, I've got a nice thin glaze consistency here, but it's hard to see on there. So my bowl's not very deep. But it just takes that couple minutes to get the powdered
Right.
sugar fully dissolved. So this I can pour then into my little cup, add a little splash around on the edge, and then you get this really nice dense cake texture
Ooh,
to it.
delicious.
And it's perfect for cutting into little cubes, adding this even to like a dessert charcuterie with those dips on
Ooh.
the side. So highly recommend. Great
Yes,
fall recipe.
Absolutely.
Ready to go.
All right, Lori. Well, as always, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We're back with more right after this.
Look, here's a phone company who wants us to use our phones.